I'm here to tell you not to buy Arteza or Crayola pencils because you're going to create more problems for yourself in the long run. G'day fine artists, I'm Kirsty Rebecca and I create easy to follow, realistic art tutorials so you can relax and enjoy creating professional fine art that you feel proud of. You've probably seen people achieve some amazing realistic results from using cheaper coloured pencils, and they may even look like professional works of art, but just because the artwork looks good at the time it was created doesn't mean it will stay that way over a period of time. You might also be thinking that it would be better to try out a cheap set first before you spend your money on a better quality set, but don't do that either because there are other ways to save money if you're just starting out. If you don't use the right supplies, your artwork has the potential to fade, discolour, flake or crack over time. If you're just practicing your skills, drawing in a sketchbook, or you're turning your artwork into a digital medium of some sort, and you're not actually planning on selling your original artwork, or you don't really care about how long it lasts, then go ahead and use whatever supplies you like. The first problem that you're going to have with cheap supplies is the light fastness. So what does light fast mean and why is it important? I'm not going to go too in-depth with this, but basically it measures how fast the pigment or the colour will fade under light. Higher quality supplies with light-fast pigments cost more to make than cheaper supplies, which is why there can be a huge price difference. That isn't always the case though. There are some cheaper supplies that are light-fast, but in general, the higher the price, the better the quality of the supplies. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much because it can be confusing and kind of boring, but if you're interested, you can pause this video and screenshot this chart. It shows you the ratings in comparison to how long your artwork will take to fade or discolour. There are two ratings that companies usually use to measure light fastness, which are the Blue Wall scale or the ASTM scale. Some artists will only use suppliers that rate very high on the scale, lasting 100 years or more, but a lot of other artists will use suppliers that will last 50 years or 25 years. It's totally up to you as an artist and what you feel comfortable doing. Depending on the company, these ratings may be displayed directly on the product. For example, on the Polychromos pencils or on the Derwent Lightfast, they have the rating printed directly onto the pencil, but there are other brands like Prismacolor that will have the information in a brochure when you purchase a set, or you can usually find the information on their website. There are a lot of dodgy companies that will claim their products are fade resistant, highly pigmented, or professional grade, but if they don't have information on their website about the light fastness specifically of their products, or they avoid the question when you contact them, or they just tell you that they've used their own method to test them, I probably wouldn't trust that either. If the company have actually paid to get these tests done, they would most likely advertise this as well because it's not cheap to get those tests done and it will help them sell their products to artists. Even if the company does use light-fast pigments, that doesn't necessarily mean that every pencil in every set is light-fast. Some more expensive sets like the Derwent Lightfast and the Caran d'Ache Luminance coloured pencils are all light-fast, and the price of these sets match that quality. Some sets like the Faber-Castell Polychromos have a few pencils that aren't light fast, and other sets like Prismacolor only have about half of the pencils that are actually light fast enough for my liking. So what I usually do is just take out the pencils that are not light fast enough and just use the ones that are on my artwork. One of the biggest mistakes that I see other artists make is using suppliers that aren't intended to be used for artwork because they're cheaper than professional suppliers. So using things like baby oil or hand sanitizer to blend your coloured pencils, or using hairspray as a fixative can potentially cause your work to yellow or discolour in a few years as well. Using water-based mediums like acrylic paint, gouache or gel pens may be archival on their own, but when you put them on top of coloured pencil pieces for highlights and whiskers, it's not actually archival anymore. And that's because when you put a water-based medium on top of an oil or wax-based medium like coloured pencil, it doesn't adhere to the surface properly and it has the potential to crack or flake over time. Another problem you will come across if you start out with cheap brands like Arteza or Crayola, or even student-grade versions from popular brands like Derwent or Faber-Castell, is that once you get used to using your cheap supplies, you will have to change a lot of the techniques you're using when you switch over to better quality pencils. It can almost be like learning a whole new medium again, because the way that the colours go down, the layering, and the process of actually using your pencils is going to be quite different when you switch over to a professional grade pencil. So what I recommend doing if you're on a budget is buying a smaller set of good quality coloured pencils rather than a huge set of crappy pencils. I use a few different brands of coloured pencil, but if you're just starting out, I recommend either the Faber-Castell Polychromos, the Derwent Lightfast, or the Caran d'Ache Luminance. By starting with a smaller set of colours, there are also some huge benefits. It can be confusing or daunting when you have a set of 100 colours to choose from, but if you only have 12 or 20 colours, you're going to have a smaller selection to choose from, which is going to force you to learn about colour mixing and values a lot quicker than someone who started with a huge set of colours, because you'll learn how to mix and layer the colours that you need. You could even go one step further and start with just the individual black and white pencils and create a few grayscale pieces on some toned paper with those. This is a really great option for people who are just wanting to try out the medium, because the artwork will still look amazing, but you'll be able to save a lot of money and you'll be forced to learn about the values and how to layer and blend with good quality pencils without the stress of choosing colours. And that can work for any medium that you want to try as well. If you want to see how I create vibrant coloured pencil drawings using some of my favourite Lightfast and archival supplies, then click on this giraffe tutorial in the top left-hand corner and I will see you over there.